Alright folks, we are here. This is your boy, SportsRap D, and you know what it is. This is what it do, we here. So listen, we getting ready to get into this. You know what it is. It's SportsRap right here on Heat 100 Radio, heat100radio.com. You can also get us in the group page. SportsRap Podcast LLC is that page, and you can get over there right now. Tune in, check in, and get us and get in tune with it. So listen, we got a lot of stuff to get to. We definitely are going to get to some Eagles talk, and we are definitely going to give you some news and updates, some things and whatnot, whatever. Before we get started, real quick, just a little quick moment of silence for Barbara Walters, a media pioneer, media mogul, if you will, passed away over the weekend. So just a quick second for her.
Yeah.
Thank you all for that. I know that wasn't sports related, but like I said, because of what we do here, media mogul, she was a major player, iconic, if you will. So we got some news, some updates, some stuff for you, and we're gonna talk some other stuff and get into some Eagle stuff, and then we talk some Sixers real quick. And then another thing I found that since it's the first show of the new year, I figured that I would take a little bit of a step back. I found some stuff that are alleged the top moments of 2022, and I'll give my take on them, what I think about what was selected. And then there's another one that I saw with some bold predictions for 2023, and I'll also go through as many of those as I can, or I'll pick out some of the ones that I think are really good and give you my take on those decisions or predictions as well. Secondly, before we get into that, and I have to do another moment of silence, I nearly forgot, and I'm just looking at my notes right now.
Okay.
Also, thanks to everybody that's tuned in.
How you doing, Karen?
Right now. Like I said, you know where we are. SportsRap Podcast LLC is the group page, and you can get in and get in on this right now. Actually, I did forget to add the phone number in, but I'm going to type the phone number in right now for you. So you can either call in or you can type your comments in here. I'm getting the number in here for you. Let's see.
Karen, you can call in. I'm going to give you the number. Excuse me.
All right, so the number is in. You see the comment. The number is 215-287-1672. That is the number. And thanks, everybody, for tuning in to SportsRap Podcast. Cuzzo, Brad Day, thanks for tuning in. The number 267, sorry, not 267, 215-287-1672 is that number. You can call in, or like I said, as you always, if you feel more comfortable, you can just type your comments in, and we can get your comments read on the air.
Right.
So, over the weekend, there was also some suspensions handed down in the NBA. So a total about 11 players were suspended between the two teams, the Pistons and the Magic. Some fines, of course, because of the number of players per team, they have to split the suspension. So, it was a big brawl. You can go back on YouTube. It was an ugly foul that initiated the brawl, and then it just got ugly after that. NC State radio voice Gary Hahn has been suspended indefinitely for using a quote illegal aliens reference. Apparently, the NC State team was down in Texas in El Paso, and he made a comment on the radio referring to the Latino Mexican residents that live there or reside there, calling them quote unquote illegal aliens. So he's suspended indefinitely for that. The Suns' Devin Booker is sidelined 4 weeks with a groin strain. Falcons wide receiver Cameron Batson is arrested and accused of fighting a cop after a traffic stop.
Oh wow!
The Broncos are said to be aggressive in their head coaching search coming up this off season. The Raiders are likely to trade QB Derek Carr after the Super Bowl.
Oh, I didn't know that.
49ers quarterback Trey Lance undergoes second surgery on his injured ankle. The Eagles lose defensive end Josh Sweat to a neck injury. Reports are that he has been released from the hospital, though. Scary injury. He was carted off. But blessings to him and his family that he can be released from the hospital, and he does have movement and feeling in his extremities. So that's a beautiful, beautiful sign there. The NFL Players Association is filing a grievance over the Panthers turf. Apparently, that's been going on for a while now, actually pretty much all season, where players have been complaining and bringing up issues about the turf, the fake, the artificial grass that a lot of these stadiums use, which is essentially like playing on carpet.
Yeah, Jets.
Yeah, it's like playing in your house on your carpet or on the concrete on your carpet. Colts quarterback Nick Foles was also carted off the field yesterday after a sack by Giants. Whatever, I forget his name. I think it's K-Ron Thibodeau. So that's your news and your updates for January 2nd, 2023. We're in 2023 now, folks. 2023. We're going to get to these scores real quick. Sunday, yesterday, NBA. Celtics fall to the Nuggets 123-111.
Right.
The Wizards get by the Bucks 118-95. And the Grizzlies get by the Kings 118-108. Also yesterday, the NHL. The Hurricanes get by the Devils 5-4.
Right.
The Rangers get by the Panthers 5-3. The Senators outlast the Sabres 3-1. The Sharks get by the Blackhawks 5-2, and the Kraken outlast the Islanders 4-1.
Okay.
In NCAA football, college football playoffs over the weekend, the top 4 teams who make the college football playoffs, and we're going to get to that probably in another week or two, where I saw the article, and I have to find it again. I think I saved it. They are expanding the college football playoffs to, I think, 12 teams.
Yeah.
But this won't start until like 2024 or 2025.
Like
I'll get all the information and we'll talk about it. It's something that me and Baldy, shout out to my partner Baldy. Happy New Year's to you, Ball,
Happy New Year,
as
Ball.
well. Shout out to him because we've been talking about this for the longest time, that they should expand it. And we also gave you ideas and our thoughts on how they could expand it.
Right.
But apparently it's come to fruition and it will be expanded. And again, I'll get all the information for you. And once I gather it all and put it all together, we'll definitely bring it to the stage and bring it to you. So, but over the weekend, number 3, TCU gets by number 2, Michigan 51-45. And in a barn burner, crazy situation, Georgia just squeaks by Ohio State after the missed field goal, 42-41. We got a question here. Let's see. Bradley Day, Cuzzo, what's going on? He said, do you think that Hurts lost his chance, let's see, of be MVP because of his injury? Actually, no. I think that's even more reason that he should get it, because it shows
his value.
It shows his value to the team.
Yeah.
Also, while we're here right now, real quick, and I mentioned this when it happened, when he said it, and I reposted it yesterday because other people have been reposting it now. It's been 2 games, and I said it after the first game. I said it initially before that first game with Gardner Minshew starting was even played against Dallas. Chris Sims has no freaking idea what the hell he's talking about. It's ideal that I say this, and it's very imperative that I say this because I'm here and I see it.
Right.
Millions of other people see it.
Yeah.
You're on national TV. You're allegedly a football analyst, and you don't see it. How could you come up with a statement like that? Shows me a little bit about what you do and how you do the work that you do and where your thought process is. And then, like I said, when I posted it initially, somebody tell me what he did in the NFL. Like they say, not for long. He's the poster child for that. Didn't do anything in the NFL, so it is what it is. But nonetheless, that's what it is. Also, shout out to Temple Owls. I was at the Temple Owls game yesterday, men's basketball. Shout out to my guy, Monte Ross, Coach Ross. Aaron McKee, the whole squad. Big win, good win yesterday. A little struggle at first, back and forth at first, but they ultimately pulled out the win. Temple gets that win at home on Broad Street, 70-61 over Cincy. Like I said, shout outs to them. Good shout. I'll definitely be back in that arena to see another game because I like what I saw yesterday from that team and from the coaching staff as well. Also, shout out to Mark Macon. I didn't get a chance to holler at you yesterday, Mark, but I know you are an avid listener. You tune into the show all the time.
He was there.
I didn't know that you were also an associate coach on that bench until yesterday. And again, like I said, just watching you work and doing things, and didn't have the time frame to really holler at you. But I know you there, so, and I know if you hear, you see me, you'll tune in, you'll chime in or whatever, and I know you do. When you're available, you always chime in because I talk to you couple weeks ago on the chat here. So we get into football, NFL Week 17, going back to Thursday, December the 29th. Dallas on the short week got 2 wins. That's another win. They take out Tennessee 27-13. You know, that game, and I know if once I say this, some Dallas fans are going to think what they're going to think. They're going to say what they're going to say. But I'm going to premise this by saying what's good for the goose is good for the gander. And you guys initially, when we beat you guys the first game of the season with your backup, that's not our fault. Injuries are part of the game, yada, yada, yada. You all claim that we beat y'all with a backup. So naturally, some Eagles fans jokingly came back again and said, oh, well, now y'all beat us with our backup quarterback. But the problem is the difference between the 2 games is at that particular time, our backup still had a chance to win. Even with 4 turnovers. I said this about that game. With 4 turnovers in that game, we still had a chance to win that game. Tells me a lot about you guys on the other side. But nonetheless, they beat Tennessee. And Tennessee played with a quarterback that had been there 8 days. So that was doomed from the start.
Right.
I mean, this quarterback was there 8 days, and he has to start.
Right.
There's no way that he was following that playbook. He was playing off instincts alone that entire game.
Fact.
But nonetheless, the Cowboys got that win 27-13. Moving into yesterday's games, Arizona falls to Atlanta by 1 point, 20-19.
That's crazy.
Detroit in the playoffs for the first time in a long time.
Oh, they in?
They should be in. I'm not sure if it's definite yet, but
like
the early predictions as of 4 o'clock yesterday before the late games were played, they had them in. So they take that game over Chicago, whipping them 41-10. Kansas City just gets by Denver in a surprise 27-24. New England outlasts Miami 23-21. The Giants beat up on the Colts, and we know the situation there with Nick Foles going down and Matt Ryan already out. They beat them 38-10. The Eagles at home fall in their second opportunity to get the number 1 seed 20-10. Folks, don't fret. The magic number is still 1. Now they just have 1 game to get that 1 win. I'm not sure what the Giants are going to do now that they are in the playoffs. They secured that yesterday. So all in all, it doesn't really matter. And I posted this yesterday with my post after the game, and I'll say it again live for everybody here to see and hear. I'm okay. My feelings aren't hurt. None of that kind of stuff. Football injuries are part of the game. It just makes this game against the Giants, this last game of the season, mean a lot more than what we expected it to mean. And it also means that it's arguably a must-play for Jalen Hurts. And it's good because you can play him, secure the number 1 seed with the win, and then he'll get some rest, and then you give him some of that momentum as opposed to him being out 3, 4, almost a month going into the playoffs. So this is kind of good. I think it'll be all right.
Call in.
Okay, my cousin Bradley Day says he's a Cowboys fan. He still does not. I still believe that Dak is not the answer. He's just not consistent. Absolutely, he's going to do something. He comes in and he gives you moments, and then he's kind of like what Amari Cooper said when Amari Cooper left. Called him the Black Kirk Cousins. He'll do things that will give you signs that maybe he's gotten it together, and then all of a sudden he'll lay an egg. So, it is what it is.
Kirk Cousins too.
Let's see. Tampa Bay gets the division. They beat Carolina 30-24. Listen, they won a division. It's going to be tough for them in the playoffs.
One and done.
If they win their first game, I think that'll be the only game they win.
Play there?
I'm not sure as of yet. Nate Phillips, thanks for tuning in. Phillips Williams, thanks for tuning in as well.
We'll see.
Yeah, I'll post all the playoff standings and all that later on. I didn't want to go through all that. I'm not going to go through all that until next week when we can really talk in depth about the playoffs after next Sunday's games. Cleveland gets by Washington, basically putting Washington out of the playoffs.
Oh, they out?
Might still be a slim chance, but for all intent purposes, they might be out. Cleveland takes that game 24-10. Jacksonville might have improved their chance of getting in on the AFC side with a strong win, 31-3 over Houston. San Francisco in a barn burner comes back at the end in overtime, beats Las Vegas or outlasts Las Vegas 37-34. Seattle gets by the Jets. The Seahawks get by the Jets 23-6. Green Bay beats up on Minnesota, which helps the Eagles still, 41-17. The Chargers beat up on the Rams 31-10. And in the nightcap last night, Baltimore falls to Pittsburgh 16-13. Coming up tonight on Monday Night Football, Buffalo at Cincinnati. Should be a really, really good game. Arguably heavy playoff implications in that game as well. So what we're going to do, folks, now is 10 after 11. That was kind of quick that we got through that. I didn't think it would be that quick. But we got through that fairly quick. So what we're going to do now, we're going to talk some Eagles talk. Because this is what we need to get to. It's the burning topic of the morning here in Philly. And you know, it has to be done.
Y'all nervous?
Again, all of the people that are not Eagles fans that are now enjoying the revels of their teams, yeah, enjoy it. It's what you're supposed to do. You know, I'm not mad or disappointed or anything like that.
Right.
I am disturbed at how the game played out itself. Like I said, I'm not disturbed so much that they lost. Of course I'm disturbed, yeah. You know, I don't like it because they should have won that game. But I'm also, I don't know what they're going to do with Watson, so they may mess around with him again. Nate Phillips says, do the Birds think the Birds went into coast mode too early? I don't think they went into coast mode, Nate. I think what happened was they went into the game with enough preparation against Dallas, knowing what they needed to do per Gardner Minshew starting. They went into the Saints game, I believe, not preparing as well. I think they coasted, and using that word coast, I don't mean as far as how they played. I mean as far as their preparation. They just carried things over, which they shouldn't have. Knowing your injuries, you should have adjusted like you adjusted going into the Dallas game, and you can't run the same offense that you run.
You can't.
With Jalen Hurts, with Gardner Minshew. You picked it up in the second. They picked it up in the second half. They started to run the ball, but then they went away from it. Like I always have faith in the defense because, like I said, for the past several years, I've been feeling like the defense is always in the top 5, top 8, and they always keep us in plenty of games. It's just this year that the offense was built the way it was built, and it performed the way we expected it to perform. Even a little bit more than what we expected it to be. So we kind of got some fool's gold, like Baldy likes to say, in a way, for lack of a better phrase. But again, get into it. Things that I said. Said, by the way, praying for Josh. But yeah, he's out of the hospital, Nate. He says he has feeling and movement in his extremity, so that's a good sign. Definitely a great sign. So again, folks, I'm not concerned. Like I said, going back to the game before Dallas, we had 3 opportunities to get 1 win. Then it went into the Dallas game. We lost that game. Now we had 2. Now it's down to 1 game to get a win. So again, like I just said a little earlier, this Giants game at the end of the season is going to mean a lot more than what we expected and what we thought it would mean. It also means that after what we saw yesterday, that in order for us to do what we set out to do as a team, or what the team set out to do, and their goals and plans, that there's almost a must game for Jalen Hurts to play. And I feel like it's okay because if you play him, you improve your chances of getting the win with the uncertainty of what the Giants do, because now that they know they're in the playoffs, like they know that they're not getting the number 1 seed or whatever, they know that they're in. So it's a chance that some of their players may rest the entire game or some of that game. So it's an opportunity. The door is open for the Eagles to take that game. And where I'm going is I'd rather see Jalen Hurts play. And you adjust the offense, like you take some of those RPOs out because of his shoulder, because he's going to have to throw the ball a little bit anyway. So some of those runs, you kind of try to remind him to take out or start taking some slides. But in this essence, what it does is he missed 2 weeks, so you get him back into a game, a real game, not just practice, a real game under some live bullets. He can get into a rhythm. You get the win. He has a rest week to get a little bit more healthy. He has 2 weeks, rather, to get a little bit more healthy. and then you bring them back and you make your playoff run. Yeah, Eagles, Bradley Day, my cousin, comes back in and he says, Eagles need a leader once Hurts is not in the game on defense and to push the team. Well, the defense, in my opinion, is okay. They got smacked in the mouth early.
13 points.
They got smacked in the mouth early, but they really only gave up 13 points yesterday. Yeah. After giving up 40 to Dallas, they only gave up 13 points in essence.
That's a hell of an improvement.
It's a big improvement, even though it looked very, very bad. Yeah. But I stand on the defense. So the defense, I think, is okay.
Right.
The other side of the ball, the leadership, goes on to in my opinion, it would go on Jason Kelce. And I think if you watch his interview in the locker room after that game, he felt it, and he kind of feels the same way. At one point, he was asked about clinching the #1 seed and this, that, and the third. And his response was a very touching, very honest answer. He said he didn't really give a you-know-what about clinching the #1 seed. His concern was how they looked yesterday. Right. This is what you want from your leaders. This is what you want from your guys. Yeah. So, I like that. And I saw the frustration on A.J. Brown. Even though A.J. got that one touchdown, that was him. Yeah. That was all him after the catch. Right. But you saw the frustration. You saw, watching that game yesterday, that Shane Steichen did not properly prepare himself or his quarterback for that game.
Coordinator did? Okay.
Yeah, he did not prepare himself. Okay. He did not properly prepare the quarterback for that game. Right. I don't know what he was thinking about in his preparations, whatever, but he didn't do it. He did a very, very bad job, and it showed immensely. Again, like I said, they came back. They had that chance to make a drive and take the lead. It was 13-10. And then Gardner Minshew throws that horrible pass. Watch that pass all the way. Marshawn Lattimore is too good. He jumped that route. Yeah. It wasn't even a lot of pressure. He just studied that and stared that down. And Marshawn Lattimore just jumped it. And at that point, you can't throw that pass that deep in your own field. You can't take the second. You got to throw that away.
Throw that away.
Or you got to go through all your reads and throw it somewhere else. So, the pick six got them to 20. Like I said, in essence, the Eagles. Again, I wrote the stats down, and like I said, you look at that game yesterday, and the numbers are gonna deceive you, right? Because if we just look at numbers, just looking at Minshew, 18 to 32, 274 yards, 1 interception, 1 touchdown. Bad game. Only sacked 6 times for 28 yards. Not a bad game by the numbers.
The Lions gave up.
Not a bad game by the numbers. But when you look at everything else, when you look at the visuals, the visuals made it a lot worse. On the rushing attack, Miles Sanders 12 rushes with 61 yards. Boston Scott 2 for 6 yards. On an overall total team, 15 rushes for 67 yards. Unacceptable. This is what we do. Once they got it together, Miles Sanders popped off a couple runs. You should have continued to give him the ball. Those fourth downs that the Eagles got into, the 0 of 2, after the first one, which was a horrible call, in my opinion. The second one, that's not Jalen Hurts back there. Second time, you either try Boston Scott, Kenny Gainwell, or Miles Sanders. I mean, worst case scenario, you go traditional like some teams have done. Right. This is just a thought. You go traditional fullback. You put Dallas Goedert in that fullback spot, and you give him the ball coming up, right up the A gap, off the center, off Jason Kelce, and who's there? Whoever's there. You come right off Jason Kelce. Right. But you go off the quarterback who pushes that block, and you go right off Jason Kelce. You give it to Dallas Goedert, the up man, in that eye back set from the old days, and you get that first down. The other thing, the Saints, when I would say the Saints, they held on to the ball, kept that offense off the field. They had the possession, 37 minutes, 4 seconds to the Eagles, 22 minutes, 56, so basically 23 minutes. So they had the ball pretty much most of the game, half of the game. Right. See, Nate Fuller's been some inconsistent coaching on Nick's part. I don't think it was all Nate. I think it was also, like I just mentioned, the offensive coordinator, I don't think properly prepared
Right.
himself or Gardner Minshew going into that game.
Mm-hmm.
It showed. There's no way in hell that you have 4 of your first possessions are all 3 and outs. There's no way.
Yeah.
Against a team that's 6-9.
They're terrible. Saints are terrible.
They're not good team. These guys yesterday, even though the defense did pick it up and ended up with 7 sacks for 45 yards against the Saints yesterday. In the beginning, they made Andy Dalton look like a solid NFL player. Most of us know he is not.
He's
that.
trash.
Okay. Like I said, that pick 6 hurt. Still, the magic number is 1, like I said, against the Giants on Sunday.
Y'all should take that game.
I think we should win that game. Like I said, it's uncertain what the Giants do. But again, in the situation that we are in right now, currently, doesn't matter what they do. We've got to do what we need to do and get a win. That's all. And what we have to do is home. And what we got to do as a unit is put that clinching in the back of our mind. We just got to focus on winning the game, and then let everything else take care of itself.
Fact.
We can't focus on if we win, we get the number 1 seed. We have to focus on we need to get a win to get back to playing like us, to get some momentum going into the playoffs. That's where we need to focus at, and then let the clinching the number 1 seed be the cherry on top of the Sunday. All right. So, also yesterday, one bright note for the Eagles. They set an NFL record. They are the first team in NFL history with 6+ sacks in 5 straight games. Absolutely. So, folks, we are going to take a quick break. When I come back, the first thing we're going to get into, I'm going to talk about that question again, and I'll give you all what I intend to bring into the new year and or leave in 2022. We'll talk talk a little Sixers, talk a little Joel Embiid.
Right.
Also, I saw an article we're going to talk real quickly, and I saw it. I thought it was rather interesting. The top five worst free agent signings for the Philadelphia 76ers.
Right.
And then we'll get into the best moments of 2022 and some bold predictions for 2023. Folks, you are tuned in to SportsRap right here on Heat 100 Radio. Group page, SportsRap Podcast, LLC is the live stream. I will see you on the other side in just a couple seconds. Come on back with us.
Taking a quick break. We'll be back with some more topics. Sports Rap Show.
Right here, Sports Rap, Heat 100 Radio.
Yeah.
Boy, Sports Rap Deep in the building. And welcome back to the second half. Well, not so much the second half, but yeah, welcome back to the second half.
Yeah.
So before we get into what we're going to get into in the second half, and you know, I told you what it was in the very beginning. And again, like I said, just to know where we are, Facebook, Sports Rap Podcast LLC is the group page where you can get the live stream right now. If you are in a place, and I know a lot of you are still home because of the holiday, if you can't get to your screens, you can get to the TuneIn app, search Heat 100 Radio, search lock us in, and you can hear us there. And also you can go to heat100radio.com and you can hear us there as well. Let's see. We just got a comment in here. Stan Groovy Laws, Reggie Brasby. Happy New Year to you guys. Blessings to you, Coach Stan. Happy New Year to you as well. Reg, classmate, my guy. Thanks for tuning in, good brother. So what I did, like I said, last week, I posed a question to some people, and I even posted it. I got a couple answers, but didn't get a lot. So I'll bring it again. And again, like I said, once I give you this first person's answer response, I will give you what I intend to do, or give you my answer to the question. So the question I posed is, I said, we're going to scrap away, so to speak, the New Year's resolutions. And I asked everyone, Zed, thanks for tuning in, good brother. I asked people to let me know, if anything, what are you leaving in 2022? And what are you taking with you, if anything, into 2023? And I mean, it's perfectly fine if you say nothing. You're saying you're leaving everything that went on in 2022 there, and you're taking nothing. You clean the slate, clean the slate. scrapping it, starting off new in 2023, that's fine as well. So, what I'm going to do is, my one response that I thought was rather decent, pretty interesting. My brother, Tavon Diggs, he said he's leaving behind old habits.
Right.
He said he's bringing into the new year he's bringing new, healthy, productive habits.
Right.
No excuses and no self-limitations, only hustle.
I
think that's great.
I know that's right.
That's great. So that's Tavon Diggs. Shout out to you, bro, for responding and giving me some good stuff there. So for me, folks, I am leaving all of the negativity and the people or anyone that I felt had negative energy,
Right.
or that brought negative energy towards me into my energy.
Right.
I'm leaving all of them and all of that in 2022.
Right.
So basically, like I said, if I feel it starting 23, if I feel the negative energy, I feel the bad vibe, just know that it's going to stop. It's going to stop my way, and I don't have to let you know that I stopped. Just know that I'm going to stop, and when you feel it, you feel it. However long it takes, you'll get it at some point if you don't get it immediately.
Right.
Going into 2023,
Right.
I am bringing the hustle,
Right.
the grind. I feel like I've been working on this show, gotten it to where it is to now, established it into a business.
Right.
So I feel like I've been working for the business for a long time. Now I feel I need to focus on letting the business work for me. So that's what I'm bringing in. I'm bringing in that energy and that determination to have my business work for me into 2023. That's what I'm bringing. So, like I said, if you don't want to call in and say it live, you can type it in the comments, or you can just, after you get it all together, when this show is over, you can post the comments there, or you can just scroll through.
Right.
Or you can just send me a message, or you can just comment on this post. Once we get done, it goes up anyway, so you can leave comments if you don't want to call in. Again, if you feel like you want to call in, 215-287-1672 is the number you can call in. So with that being said, I want to move into some Sixers talk. We got a Sixers game tonight. They play, I think, the Pelicans tonight. But I'll give you that. I'll give you all those schedules later on, before we close out, whatever, whatnot.
Right.
But I want to talk a little bit about Joel Embiid. Got his first triple-double of the season the other night.
Right.
A somewhat bad loss to the Pelicans. Then they bounced back in the back-to-back the next night and beat a team, that they should beat, in the Oklahoma City Thunder. A good win there. That's when he got the triple-double. But Joel Embiid has been on a tear.
Yeah.
I'm going to say maybe the last 2.5 months, close to 2.5 weeks, close to a month now. I like what I'm seeing. I like the fact that they're now playing him in that mid-range from the foul line in. Again, I still see that what appears to me that they're working on trying to consistently cut down his three-point attempts.
Yeah.
And I'm happy with that. I'm very happy with that. But I'm also very happy with him playing from that foul line in. The skill set that he possesses offensively as a 7-footer is very dangerous for him, for opponents at that level. And then I've also seen he's mixing in some bully ball, and I hope it stays that way. And I feel like he has a determination, or he's finally come to this conclusion that
You can't stop.
he just has to go and play. Not worry about the MVP, not worry about not getting it, not worrying about what people say about him possibly being in the run-ins or not being in the run-ins, all the nonsense that goes along with that and all the politics that goes along with that, we all know. I think it's starting to begin to click on for him, where he just needs to go and play. And when he does that, he gets his head right, he goes and just plays, he can go and dominate, and he does dominate, and that's what we've been seeing.
Mm-hmm.
Also, this thing with him and James Harden is beginning to come together.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, don't know what the reason was. Maybe it was just some rest for Harden when he didn't play in the back-to-back. But we got Tyrese Maxey back, and we got to work him back in. Some people will, for dialogue purposes, will say, yeah, you should put him right back in the starting lineup. He missed a lot of time, so there's going to be some rust there. There's also going to be that common thing where he's going to have to get back into game shape. And some of y'all might not understand what that means. It's a very big difference than playing in practice, scrimmaging with your teammates, and then you get into a game. It's different speed, different physical nature when you're playing against a legit opponent.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to take a little bit. So you got to kind of fit him in where you can. And you can ride DeAnthony Melton because, in my opinion, right now, DeAnthony Melton is the best off-season acquisition. Or he's proving right now to be the best acquisition. The people will say, what about Trez? Here's the thing with Trez, and then we'll bring Paul Reed into this as well.
Mm-hmm.
In essence, the Sixers have one center. It's Joel Embiid.
Right.
Paul Reed is not a center in the NBA. Montrezl Harrell is not a center in the NBA. They both have played it.
Right.
The difference, Montrezl Harrell just has a little bit more experience.
Right.
Jackie Bridges, all the way from Texas. Thank you. Happy New Year's to you as well. You stay blessed and stay safe as well, my brother. Yeah, the difference is that Montrezl has just a little bit more experience in the NBA and playing that position. So I can easily sit here and say that they play that position, but in my opinion, neither one of them are a five. Montrezl Harrell, in my opinion, can be a four. So I kind of feel like maybe in the playoffs or right before you get into the playoffs somewhere, you may want to try experimenting playing him and Joel together. It's possible, like you did with Andre Drummond and Joel. The issue with Paul Reed is his size, his skill set, and again, he's still raw. I think he's still catching up to the NBA game, and then it doesn't help when right now he doesn't have a defined position, a fully defined role. So it's going to be tough. And again, like I said, his raw talent is also somewhat tough to fit in because he's what I like to say, one of those tweeners where you can't say he's a four, you can't say he's a five, and he doesn't shoot the ball well enough to say he's a stretch three or even a stretch four. He doesn't shoot the ball well enough for that. So it's hard to pinpoint where he is. And then people will, when I say this, people will go back and come back to me and say, oh, well, they got rid of a center, Charles Bassey. I told you why that happened in the beginning. And people, this is what we do here at SportsRap. We keep it 100 on Heat 100 Radio. And this is what we do. I try to give you everything, the full gist of the situations. And again, going through that situation, where the Sixers are right now, they're hoping that in a full season, this James Harden thing can be something, and we see that it can. We're looking at it now. We know that it can be something. It just has to fully come together, and it's in the process of doing that right now. The issue with Bassey and Isaiah Joe being moved was to give them some wiggle room and cap space coming up on the trade deadline, because a lot of people are saying, possibly talking about trading Tobias Harris. I even saw a report that the Knicks had internally discussed making a move or attempting to make a move for Tobias Harris. But again, like I said last year, it's going to be very, very difficult to move that contract. And what's going to happen when the Sixers field or possibly say or leak out or talk to other teams and say, oh, well, what do you think about this guy? Immediately some names are going to come up that Sixers fans are going to immediately not want to part with. I mean, I'm parting that way too. I'm sure immediately Tyrese Maxey's name is going to come up. And I'm not one for moving Tyrese Maxey right now because of the contract of Tobias Harris. People are going to give you something to match the money, and it's not going to be what you want. So I would, wait on that. But again, this gives the Sixers those two moves, the Charles Bassey and the Isaiah Joe move, gives them some wiggle room where also in free agency and trade deadline, if they don't make a trade, not free agency, but in the trade deadline, there becomes the buyout market around there for teams that have players that see that their current team is not going anywhere. So sometimes they get a buyout and they can go become a free agent and sign somewhere else.
Right.
This is where the Sixers will probably focus their attention. I just saw something this morning that Eric Gordon, who has consistently been rumored to the Sixers,
for who?
is beginning to grow thin with the progression or the lack thereof progression in Houston.
Who would y'all give up?
They wouldn't have to give up anything. He possibly could ask to be traded or possibly ask to get a buyout.
Wow.
And then the Sixers can pick him up once he clears waivers if he gets a buyout.
You like Gordon?
Yeah, I mean it'll help us. It'll help us with the shooting. He would definitely still have to come off the bench. He's a guard. He's a two guard. He would definitely still come off the bench, but that would also boost our bench a little bit more. See, because when you get everybody healthy, you bring Tyrese Maxey into the starting lineup. Then you've got Shake Milton,
I like Shake,
who's been playing well, and then you got DeAnthony Melton, who also has been playing very well. So now you got some depth and some scoring coming off that bench. And don't forget the minivan, George Niang, who's been playing well also. And now with that, you can kind of, and people are like overlooking the fact, and then people are also talking about in trades they're throwing Matisse Thybulle in because he doesn't give you that offensive punch that you expect from him. He's good in his role, and you have to accept him for his role. He hit a couple 3-pointers the other night.
Yeah, I like him.
He'll hit a couple, but he's not a guy that's going to come out and look to hit 2, 3, 4 3-pointers a night. It's not him.
Yeah.
He'll shoot them. I mean, I give him credit for that, unlike Ben Simmons, of course. I'll give him that. He does shoot them. But I give him that. I give him the credit. He will shoot them.
Right.
And that type of thing will come. But also now you have the benefit of having, and this is where people are saying, why is Matisse not playing as much? What's going on with him? It's an issue now where you have a DeAnthony Melton on the roster who can do the same things that Matisse Thybulle can do as a wing defender, but you get a plus in that, and you get some offense. You can get some offense that you can create for him, or you have a guy now that can create his own offense. So that was the no-brainer in DeAnthony Melton starting and giving you that. And now you see what you can have, like we said, off that bench in that situation. So, I mean, people started out in the beginning when it looked rough, it looked shaky, then we had a couple injuries to Harden and Max. And I'm like, would you rather have these injuries now or in March and April when we're trying to make a playoff push? Also, I said on the flip side, the silver lining in that crowd, what it does is it gives these guys, the Shake Miltons and the DeAnthony Meltons, gives them playing time. So now, when they go back to the bench as reserves later on in the season, when they come in games, they know their roles now. It's not a day-to-day role with them. Now they know I can go play basketball, because I've done what I've done while I was a starter or when I had heavier minutes. Now I got these little minutes shrunk up a little bit because of the playoffs or whatever, but I know I can just go and play basketball. I don't have to worry about, coach said I need to do this. And sometimes when you get in situations like that, sometimes guys get too focused on what the coach said, and it takes away from the other things that they can do on the court. So, it's going to help. It'll help in the long run. And I think the Sixers will be fine. Like I said, I'm not sure about a trade, but I feel like they'll definitely be looking at that buyout market come trade deadline. They'll be looking at that buyout market, seeing if anybody gets waived or anything like that, or if a trade comes up that will make them better. I think they'll do it. But again, it has to be something that's going to make them better, and I have confidence that Daryl Morey will do that in a sense of something to make them better. That's why I brought up the Eric Gordon thing, where again, like I said, I saw something this morning where he's not happy. He's apparently being reported not happy. So something could happen there because he says there's no progression there with he doesn't like the progression or the lack thereof, like I mentioned, inside the organization of Houston. Robert Reed, he's coach. Thanks for tuning in, as always. So we're gonna get into this real quick, because we're gonna have to have some time to go through. Happy New Year's to you too, Coach. We're gonna have to have some time to go through the best moments of 2022, and we're gonna talk a little bit about some predictions for 2023. So real quick, we're gonna run through this. Like I said, it was the 5 worst free agent signings for the Philadelphia 76ers. This article was compiled by Sixers Wire. So, some people that knew a little something about what they were talking about. So some dishonorable mentions. Brian Skinner from the 2004 offseason. Surprisingly, he was with the Sixers in 02-03. He helped them reach the playoffs. Then he went to the Milwaukee Bucks. After that season with the Bucks, he returned to the Sixers on a 5-year, $25 million deal.
Right.
And on that deal, he averaged 2 points, 2.6 rebounds in 24 games before being moved to the Sacramento Kings, and this was part of that deal for in the Chris Webber trade. And we got Chris Webber from the Kings. Also, another dishonorable mention, the 2003 offseason. The Sixers acquired from the Houston Rockets, and I remember this trade. Kenny Thomas averaged 10 points and 8.1 rebounds. Once he was re-signed to a 7-year, $50 million deal, which was way too much money for him. He was moved to the Kings with Skinner and the Webber deal. Then we get into the actual top 5. At number 5, Kwame Brown. Say Kwame Brown. And this Kwame Brown was in, doesn't say what year it was, but anyway, he signed a 2-year, $5.7 million deal in 2012. He played a grand total of 22 games. He averaged 1.9 points, 3.4 rebounds. Never played another NBA game again. He later became the overall 5th pick in the Big 3. Number 4, one Scott Williams. All right, Sixers liked him because he was then because the GM at the time felt like he knew how to win, coming from those Chicago Bulls teams. Sixers signed him to a 7-year deal.
Right.
However, he didn't bring any of that stuff he learned in Chicago here with him. He played 212 games here, averaging 5 points, 5.4 rebounds. He was traded to the Milwaukee Bucks, which when we faced off against the Sixers in the 2001 playoffs. Number 3, believe it or not, the current GM, Elton Brand. And people might laugh about this and say whatever they want to say, but before he joined the Sixers, he was one of the best big men in the league. Elton Brand. People may not remember that, but it's with Los Angeles Clippers. He was a 20-10 guy. Okay, he was also a 2-time All-Star. Philly signed him to at that time, Philly Max. 5 years, $82 million. He wasn't the same player. He only averaged 13 points and 7 rebounds in the 4th season before he was released before the final season of his contract. Number 2 was Matt Geiger.
Oh boy.
Matt Geiger, we all know this story. Matt Geiger signed a 6-year, $48 million deal in the 98 offseason. He had some bright spots, averaging 13 and 7. After that deal, his numbers declined every season, and he only played 4 games in the 2001-2002 season, his final one. The highlight, possibly, of Geiger's time here was his refusal to waive his trade kicker in 2001, and it would have been a deal that would have sent him and Allen Iverson to the Detroit Pistons. That essentially kept Allen Iverson in the city, and the Sixers went to the finals that year. Number 1. The one that I cringed about when it happened, the one that I never was in favor of the amount of money, the one that I felt was definitely not a really good contract. The Horford signing.
Okay.
4 years, $109 million. There was an expected on-court fit between him and Joel that never came to fruition. Also, there was an issue with him not messing with Embiid or Simmons. The result, as you say, was quote dysfunctional basketball. Also, you compound that with losing Jimmy Butler. It just wasn't there. Trading Horford after Sixers, and after they lost Butler, he went to the Miami Heat, led them to the finals in 2020. Sixers waving a red flag and trading Horford traded Horford after one season. The deal just looked downright awful. So that was that deal. Deal was just definitely a horrible deal. So you can hear all this, you can see all this. If you got any comments or anything on any of those guys that was there, or you want to throw some names in that you feel could have or should have been added to that list, please feel free to leave your comments here, and I'll get to them later, and I'll try to get to respond to some of them later on, as I do almost every Monday. So folks, this is the Thursday. We should be at the Drake this Thursday. Of course, stay tuned all week, and I will definitely keep you up to date on what's going on with that, how that's going to play out, and all of that type of stuff. First show for the new year, if you will. Again, at the Drake. So we'll have 2 first shows, if they're possible. We'll have first show here today, and then we'll have a first show at the Drake on Thursday. But again, like I said, you know what to do. Just stay tuned. Stay focused on social media, and we will get all that. I'll get all that information to you as we proceed. So, first, I want to go into some of the best moments of 2022. I looked at this list, and there are some things that I feel like I could possibly add in, and if we have enough time, I may throw some of them in. I may throw some at the audience to see if anybody in the audience chimes in on some of the things that I may or may not add. So 2022 for the sports world was, what I would say,
weird,
strange, crazy, somewhat exciting. Lowell Rich, thanks for tuning in. There's a few adjectives you can use to describe the sports season, the sports year 2022. I found this article and I got 10. And like I said, I'm going to go through these 10 and I'll give my take. Happy New Year's to you too, Lowell Rich. Thank you, brother.
I'll chime
in. I'll chime in. And if I feel like I need to add something in or add another one in before we move on, I'll definitely do that. But I'm sure that once I go through these again, it'll get the juices flowing. And I don't know what I was thinking about. When I first went through it, I had some other things pop in my head, and I just neglected to jot them down like I normally do. So I don't know where I was at or what I was thinking about when I did it. So it's no big deal, but we'll get to it anyway. We'll get through it. Going through this list at number 10, the Lady Huskies fall in the national championship. So some bullet points on this one. We all know UConn. We all know the legacy. We all know the history behind UConn women's basketball and their coach Gino Arian. 11-time national championship, 22 times Final Four coach. He's already Basketball Hall of Fame inducted. Till they ran into the juggernaut of South Carolina.
She's something else.
And shout outs to them. Shout outs to Philly's own Dawn Staley. Doing amazing things. Like
recruiting's good, dude.
This, like,
Future
you
diamond.
could almost, and I know it's not the same situation. I know the dynamics are not the same as well. But
she's bad, man. For
sake of a conversation, having some dialogue, I'm like 1,000% sure that at some point people could talk and have a conversation, and they could almost compare. And mind you, like I said, for dialogue and conversation purposes, you could somewhat compare what she's done at South Carolina to what Deion did at that HBCU. Now, hear me out, folks. And I know some people are probably like, what? Wait, no. Hear me out. I understand the dynamics. I said the dynamics are different, but I understand the dynamics. You got Dawn Staley, African American sister.
Yeah.
North Philly zone from the inner city.
I love her, man. She's good.
Hell of a playing career.
Mm-hmm.
High school, college, Olympics.
She had a handle, huh?
And has won 2 championships.
She gonna win some more too.
But what she has done as far as being an African American female leader
Mm-hmm.
of young African American and other women
Right. Amazing.
is freaking amazing.
Yeah.
She has changed
Culture.
the lives of a lot of these young women in a way that sometimes basketball alone could not do.
Right. Fact.
Now, if you don't understand what I'm saying, please chime in and let me know you don't understand what I'm saying when I say that. And I said, don't feel ashamed if you don't understand what I meant. Just say you don't understand what I meant. It's not a bad thing. It may have been the way I presented it.
Right.
But right now, nobody's chiming in. But I'm going to try and clear it up for everybody that's tuned in right now. What I meant by saying that is, you all know how I talk here. Like me, I was a basketball player, a coach, a referee, and I love the game and I talk sports, and it ultimately led me here.
Right.
So I'm still attached to the game that I love.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still attached to sports in general, which I love.
Right.
But it started somewhere, and me being a player, coach. And referee,
Right.
it helps in what I do now.
The blueprint. Yeah.
So what I mean by saying that is, I say basketball can bring you so many places. It can only open so many doors for you.
Yep.
But what I mean when I say that is the fact that, and we all know this, people that look like me are African American communities, you know what I'm getting ready to say. What I mean is these young ladies are at a major college institution. They're succeeding in the classroom and on the basketball court. And I mean, the basketball stuff got them there for the most part. But now they're succeeding in the classroom and they're graduating. So they have something to fall back on. Basketball has helped them get a top tier education, if you will.
Right.
And I'm not saying that the HBCU with Dion and all those are not, they are, in my opinion, those are more top than, for me, in my opinion, for the African Americans that go there. I think the HBCUs are the top tier, and just going to one of these schools like South Carolina is top tier. So that's just my opinion. That's just how I see it.
Right.
But again, these young ladies have someone that looks like them.
Pushes them.
In a lot of instances, have come from the same upbringings as a lot of them, but has blazed the path that they're currently on, and has been where they want to be. Now, I'm not saying that they may not want to be coaches, but now we have that aspiration for them as far as the WNBA. And Dawn, if you people forget, was a pro before she became a college coach. She was a pro. She was a stellar athlete. So like I said, they are looking at someone and getting tutelage from someone that can give them every angle of it. The basketball side, the educational piece, the being a black woman in that major sport, giving it to them, like we say, from the gift horse's mouth.
Suck it like a sponge,
Giving it to them, not just because she's a coach and she cares, but someone that has the total experience encompassing every single aspect that they will need if they still have those dreams, or since they have those dreams to make it to the WNBA. And if not, they have the education that they can do something else, or they'll have some connections from their college days and their coach that they can still somehow stay connected to the game if they don't become a coach or a player. They can do some other things. So that's what I mean when I say you can kind of compare it. And then on the side with Dion,
same thing.
It's just been mainstream with Dion because it was Dion. So we know what Dion did. So just think about that.
Right.
Look at what Deion did. Look at what he's doing now, and think about what I just said. So that was a good one for me.
That's a good one.
I think that was a good one. You know, and I was very happy to see that, because although he does have all the accolades, and I do applaud him for his accolades, and I mean he does what he does.
Right.
I also feel like sometimes he gets a little bit too much credit. But that's just me. No, Gino R.E.M. That's just me.
Yeah,
number 9 on this list, and this one is kind of like goes out to my guy Baldy, because a couple years ago when we talked about how we could see the NCAA football expanding the college playoffs, Baldy brought in one. He's saying the year that we talked about it was a year that TCU should have been in it. We thought, but didn't get in it. Something about strength of schedule or some nonsense, but they didn't get in. But this year they just kept with it. They wrote it out and they went through. So this year, this is number 9 on this list. TCU in the college football playoffs at last. Great thing. They proved it. They deserved it. And then they went on Saturday and they showed it again. They showed it and proved it again by beating Michigan and advancing to the national title game against the number 1 Georgia Bulldogs. So that was a good one for me as well. And again, I think that, like I said, stems back for us a couple years back when we felt like they should have been in a few years ago, but they didn't get in, some technicalities and whatnot, and the popularity issues. And I mean, it's amazing, not to me, but it's amazing for some people. But I'm okay with it, and I think it's about time that Alabama was not in the top 4.
Yeah, I'm tired.
And I think they were ranked like number 5 or 6 total at the end of the season. So it's good, you know, because that dominance there, it was just starting to get tired. It's like you need some new blood, some new stuff going on. Let's see, Pop goes the record. Greg Popovich breaking the record. That's not really a big one for me. I know who Pop is. We know his history. We've seen it. So, you know,
he's a legend.
Yeah, Golden State versus Boston for the NBA title last year. Don't know how I feel about that one. You know, Boston did surprise a lot of people last year with it making it to that finals, and then it was kind of spoiled. That whole scenario kind of got spoiled going into this season when the situation with their head coach came out. And I say that because of what he did with that team in his first year, and now it's pretty much like all for naught because of the situation. He's not even there anymore, and he could arguably not even be coaching in the NBA at all anymore. So, you know, it is what it is. Let's see. Los Angeles finally wins it all. So this is, and I'm not talking about the Lakers, we're talking about the Rams this time, folks. So don't jump the gun, some of you Lakers fans that might have been tuned in.
You see what happened?
The Rams win it all. The Rams are now in that honeymoon Super Bowl hangover. And believe it or not, like, when I look at this Rams team now,
terrible.
With the talent that they had, I think,
they fell off bad.
Just in my opinion, I think this is one of the worst fall-offs from winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah, they got the most losses
ever. Like, the Eagles won and they got bad, but they didn't immediately get this bad.
Yeah,
it took the Eagles another 2 years before they got to this point. I mean, they got through a season and then made it back to the playoffs.
Yeah, they're terrible.
Just got knocked out. But then that following season, just the bottom fell out. So it took them 2 seasons to fully affect it, and then it didn't last long because right after that, they kind of picked it up a little bit, and they've been on the ascend ever since then. But the Rams are just like in that black hole right now, and it feels like kind of like that dream you have when you're just falling, and you just falling. It seems like they just falling. And it's crazy because they got a lot of talent over there. They got some talent, but I don't know, like the injuries and everything hit them pretty good. It's like it made a very, very solid immediate effect on them because they had to resort to bringing in Baker Mayfield.
Oh, he's terrible.
So, you know, we know how that is. Ovechkin, and number 5, Ovechkin surpasses Gordie Howe.
Yeah.
So that's a great thing. Alex Ovechkin, like, arguably one of the greatest to ever do it. Past another one of the arguably greatest to ever do it, Gordie Howe, on that goals list in the NHL. Another one that was really good for me, although they beat my Phils, but because it was Dusty Baker, it was an African American male, Dusty Baker and the Astros, Dusty Baker got his championship, his World Series ring. Again, you know, I'm not really mad about it. I'm a little disturbed, but I know the reality. It's like we had to use our pitching in a way. Well, it got better, but they had to use their bullpen, and they ultimately put their pitchers in positions that they were uncomfortable with or unfamiliar with,
right?
And it took its toll, cause like it wasn't like they blew us out any of those games. We were in mostly all those games. Yeah. It just came down to the point where when crucial pitching was needed, they had it and we didn't, because we had a lot of our pitchers who would have been in those crucial moments.
Offense was there,
had to perform and play in unfamiliar positions in times during games. The Brittany Griner saga at number 3. Another story that, you know, I talked about from the very beginning, and I saw some things on social media. I talked to some other people on social media about it, and I told people how I felt from the very beginning. I felt like she would have been a pawn, and then we went through the whole situation, and then later on, after the fact, people began to chime in and say, "Oh, well, we hope she's not being a pawn." I said she's been a pawn from the very beginning. It just wasn't as prevalent to a lot of you as it was to me, and I mean, I understand because I do this, so I had to dig a little bit more than the average Joe or the average person just reading the article that was presented to him. I had to do more than just read whatever was on the surface. So I dug a little bit more and I got a little bit more information. Then we moved into the stage where she was released, and then immediately when she got released, it was mixed opinions. People were happy. Yeah, of course you're happy because I was happy because she was released, because I felt like she didn't need to be there in that situation. Ultimately, because of the situation, the accused or the alleged incident, and because of her being there every year to help that team win games and do other things. So it was some mixed views at that point for me anyway. But when she got released, a lot of people immediately were questioning why wasn't the other prisoner, the gentleman that was there, that's been there longer than her, is still there. Why wasn't he released? And you know, I said to people, I even said it here, I said, you know, it's sad to say, but for me, on the outside looking in, reading between the lines, it's just my thought. And I'm not saying this is definitely how it's going to play out. But when you look at that situation, and you say the U.S. had a major hand in bringing Brittany Griner home, it's beneficial for them. Monetary, public-wise, whatever. It could be beneficial for her as well, because she can do the book and all of that, and the series and all that, anything like that. She can do that if she wants to. But when you look at it, and you look at those two particular prisoners, Brittany Griner and that other gentleman, where's more marketable value? Even if it's indirect for the United States, where's the more market value? I also brought it to the scenario, the other avenue that people can go, once Brittany decided and announced that she will be playing in the WNBA. That is immediately going to be a revenue booster for the WNBA. It's going to bring more people in the stands, and it's going to bring more attention. It's going to bring the media attention. It's going to be the attention that I'm so sorely in favor of them getting. I just didn't want it to be this way, and I say that because this way is not the right way. And there are going to be some people that are definitely going to come because they feel like they're supporting her by going to a game or something like that. Whatever happens, it happens. But that's going to happen. People are going to go feel like they're supporting her and they're going to show up for these games. But ultimately, it's going to help the pocketbook and the media attention for the WNBA. Like I said, which I am in favor of. I just hope that it could have came from a different angle. And I'm still not saying that it will be that. I said those are the avenues that can be presented in the situation. And ultimately, again, I say, in that that just means that between those two prisoners, more benefits can come from bringing Brittany Griner home than the other gentleman. I forget his name, but you kind of see where I'm going with that. Number 2, Messi finally wins the World Cup. great for him. Arguably,
he's the best of all time.
arguably one of the best that ever done it,
The other
or
guy
the
that died,
best
he said he was
that ever done it.
Pele.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Arguably, currently the best that has done it, the best that's doing
Number
it.
two.
So it's somewhat fitting, if you will, that he gets
He gets his
the
dues.
that he gets the thing there.
I like
He gets
Messi.
it, yeah. So that's that. And then number one, Tom Brady's fall from grace. We've seen it all year long. We've seen that Tom Brady is not the Tom Brady that, for lack of a better word, you have been used to seeing.
So-called GOAT.
Tom Brady has shown his age in his play. It's definitely shown where they are now. I mean, they got up and they won a division, but
money thing.
Like, their record is not great. It's I don't even think it's an actual winning record. If it is, it might be 500 or like 1 over 500. But that whole division is bad. Yeah. So it's not so much of a discredit or whatever, if you will, but like you said, it's one of those things where
it's a money grab. That's all it is.
They brought him back, and he retired and he unretired and he came back, but we all see that he's not the same Tom Brady that people had been used to seeing in the long run. So moving up next, so that was your 2022 best moments, and before we get into the next part, like any other things I'm thinking now, anything I can think of that could have been a big moment in sports in 2022. Wow. It's been a long year.
Yeah. Can't forget nothing.
For me, I could throw in the Phillies run.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's just local.
Yeah, me
but
too.
I could throw in the Phillies run because
they barely made the playoffs. Remember?
They were
out.
Coming down the stretch. They were in, then they were out,
They were in the wild
then
card
they were
spot.
back in,
Right.
then they were like neck and neck,
Then they went in a long stretch, remember?
and then
Boom.
something happened. They changed managers that way. They changed managers,
Yeah.
and then they went on this hell of a run.
I love that manager, yeah.
And end up making the World Series. And when this all started, you can go back and scroll to around the times. The videos are here.
Yeah.
It's video proof when I said a lot of this stuff.
Like the manager.
What happened was the baseball story, revitalization story, could have been written on that alone. And I say that like coming back from 2020, the pandemic, and what everything that baseball went through with the threat of the strike and all of that kind of stuff, how they bumped it up. But with that Philly story, and like I was saying, they change managers and they go on this hell of a run. Then they get to the wild card, right? The team that they pass in the wild card, they end up playing.
Right.
The Padres. No, they hit the Cardinals first.
The
Cardinals first.
Cardinals.
The Cardinals first because they had ended up getting in the wild card. They go to the Cardinals and they sweep the Cardinals.
Then they play
Then they come and they play the Padres.
Then they play the Braves.
And in the sense, then that's where it started. When they made it to the Cardinals and swept the Cardinals, that's where it started. And then you go into the team that they were neck and neck with.
Right. They
play them and then they beat them.
Right.
Then they move on and they play the Braves, the defending champions,
and
they beat the Braves.
Yeah.
So this story is going. Then they go up on the Astros and they hang tough with the Astros. Give the Astros somewhat of a scare early in that series.
That third series, all them home runs.
So
remember?
that story
alone, yeah. That's my
can be
added
into that list. Excuse me, and it can also be one of the best baseball revitalization stories as far as the league and a team in a long time.
10 years.
Long time.
Yeah, they're gonna be good next year too.
So yeah, that's my 2020. If I think of anything else, I'll blurt it out or throw it
Val, how you doing, Val?
in there, whatever. So moving on, another thing I saw, some bold predictions for
what's up, Val?
2023. It's 36, so I don't know depending on how much time we spend on each one, if we go through every single one of them.
Right.
But we'll try and get through as many as we can.
Uh-huh.
So we'll start at number 1. Georgia will win the National Football Championship.
You said Georgia?
Yeah. They're playing TCU.
Who you like?
I think Georgia's gonna win again.
I think TCU gonna put up a fight.
And I'm not saying it's gonna be easy, but I just think
Their defense,
that Georgia's been there and done it.
experience. TCU gonna put up a fight though.
So I think Georgia will outlast them in that. So for me, they say bold predictions. For me, that's not really too much of a bold prediction.
Yeah. Rally, right?
Because I'm sure once we see the
Talent.
once we see the odds and everything, Georgia's going to be favored. I don't know about how many
6
points.
probably.
But like I said, what I've seen from TCU and what I've seen from them in the past couple of years, like I said, they're not going to just go there and give them the game. They're going to play.
They got speed.
They're going to play. So that's that. LeBron James will be traded.
You think so?
Well.
You think so?
This is a good one. I don't know who's still tuned in, so if anybody else is tuned in,
Westbrook
please
needs to
check
get traded. That's what I think.
That's a bold prediction that
He ain't
LeBron
going
James
he's
will
not,
be
he's not going
traded.
nowhere.
I don't think that's going to happen.
The money thing. No, he's staying there.
I think
He's gonna retire there.
I think that
Probably Cleveland.
there would be a stronger possibility
Westbrook.
of Westbrook or possibly even Anthony Davis
They did, yeah.
being traded
He can't stay healthy.
before LeBron.
LeBron's staying.
And
He brings too much money in.
LeBron is up there in age.
Yeah, almost 40. Tell me he gonna play till he's 45.
He doesn't bring to me to the table right now
Right.
what some of these other teams that might be contenders
Right.
would actually need, and it would be tough for them to figure out how to use him.
Right.
A lot of the teams have gotten younger, and they're still a mix
Especially
of
in the West,
veterans or
yeah.
whatever.
Pelicans.
But when you talk about a guy like LeBron, and you talk about his mileage, his career, and then you talk about his age right now,
Right. 38.
where could you possibly facilitate a trade for him
I don't know.
and get some valuable pieces back in that instance? This one is a little funny. Number 3 they have here, they say the NFL long snappers will join the labor revolution. I don't know about that one. I think that one is a stretch. Although they are somewhat the unsung heroes in a lot of ways in the NFL, but I don't think they're going to make a major stink about that. I mean, some of those guys could arguably be happy to be on an active NFL roster,
Right.
and be cool with their role. So that's a little bit of stretch for me. I'm not sure about that one as a bold prediction. Number 4, the NBA will adopt a new CBA without any drama. Well, this one could be a possibility.
Possibility?
Could be a possibility. I say that because of the change in regime as far as player representation. The current player representation for teams and individuals, as far as I'm talking like Jaylen Brown
Right.
and CJ McCollum,
Right.
are players who have their brother's best interest at heart, but they're also in tune with everything that's going on
Right.
politically and all of that stuff, and how that political issue incorporates into the NBA. So they're in tune with what's going on. So I think they will help in devising a new CBA, and I think some things will be more favored to some of the players, if you will, because of that situation. And they represent the players very well. Like I said, they're knowledgeable of what's going on in the league, what they're hearing from their constituents, and they're also knowledgeable about what's going on off
Right.
the court and outside of the actual players and in the locker room. So I think that's a good thing, and I think that is a possibility. The Bills will win the Super Bowl.
False. No, who told them that?
This
Bills
one?
Mafia. Nah, they not winning that.
I don't know.
They're better than the '90s team though.
I think.
Josh Allen, they cut down on interceptions.
As far as an organization with the Bills, I feel like they could be feeling like they owe Kansas City something.
Well, they ain't winning it.
I don't know if you can truly now with the way the NFL is set up now.
Right.
I don't truly feel that you can get to a Super Bowl and arguably win in a massive blowout or in a high-powered shootout. Yeah, I just don't think that happens in the Super Bowl. Where, like, you have some Super Bowls where some points have been scored, but it wasn't like we've seen games with the Bills and Kansas City and the Bills and the Chargers. Like, those shootout games where both teams are scoring 40 or almost 50 points. I don't think, like, we've seen games where Super Bowls where teams have scored 30.
Right.
Something like that, and it's been back and forth a little bit.
Right.
But I don't think it's been to that magnitude, that high-powered scoring back and forth, or just a high-powered blowout where somebody goes and scores like 30, 40-something points.
Right.
And the other team only scores like somewhere between 3, 7, and 10. So I haven't seen that. But I just don't think that type of situation will play itself out in the Super Bowl. But I mean, there's always a chance.
There's
always going in. There's always a chance.
That's my prediction.
There's always a chance. Again, like I said, I don't feel like they have the total package to
You're missing something.
Possibly be able to grind out a game.
They can't
and have a game somewhat similar to what was the Saints game they used yesterday, where they could hold the ball for 30, 35 minutes and be successful and score points, and then the other team
try to air it out.
So I don't, that's a possibility, but not so much. Coco Gauff will win her first major.
Yeah,
I definitely could see that as a very solid prediction.
Yeah,
she's definitely right. She's now to number 7
in the world.
In singles and number 4 in doubles.
Okay.
So she's definitely
I like Coco
moving up, and I think that can be what happens again. Wow, number 7. Kevin Durant will demand a trade again.
Possible.
So. This one,
you see that one?
I could see happening.
Kyrie, all depends on what Kyrie do, right?
Not even so much that. I just feel like
he cannot play all these games.
I feel like they're. Well, let's first say they're on a hell of a run right now. The Brooklyn Nets, they are. They're playing very, very well.
Yeah, they are.
I give them that. Okay. Yeah. But we know we're getting ready to go into the second half of the season. Not wishing anything on any players, but we know the suspect possibility of some injuries. Yeah. It's all part of the game, and we know, like we talk about guys' history.
Right.
Kevin Durant has that history.
Yeah.
It just follows him. It is what it is. Now, like I said, I'm not wishing anything. I'm wishing anything happen. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just giving you the history of him, and that's what we are. That's
Hey Kim, how you doing, Kim?
Him asking to be traded again.
Possible.
Is very well possible, because I do not believe that Kyrie Irving will be back with the Brooklyn Nets next season.
Same here. What's up, Kim?
At that point, I don't think he will be enough. And I'm thinking Ben Simmons and KD, that won't work.
No, it's not going to work at all.
I mean, and there's also a possibility that Ben Simmons could be traded before the trade deadline or whatever.
He's terrible.
But that won't work. So let's just play devil's advocate and say that happens. Let's just say Ben Simmons doesn't work out. Maybe not traded, but just doesn't work out.
You get cut.
All right. Kevin Durant is still there. Kyrie Irving is no longer there. Now there's a Batman, if you will, but there's nowhere near a Robin.
Facts.
So like I've said before, like the makeup of that roster, beyond Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving,
right,
it's not a whole lot there. People will argue for Seth Curry, but we know who Seth Curry is.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, like I mentioned to 1,000 people, when he came here, the makeup of the roster, he was the best at his position, and ultimately put him in the starting lineup. And he did perform while he was here.
Yeah.
So there's no ill feelings there. You know, he did perform while he was here. Just a situation that happened, presented itself, and he took full advantage of that situation. That's just how that played out.
Right.
But looking at that next roster, like I said, that next roster, like, you lose one or two of those guys. Rick Davila, thanks for tuning in. You lose one or two of those guys, and then it's like, all right, what do we got? And this somewhat stems from some stuff I talked about last week when we talked about James Harden. When he was asked about, well, maybe not last week, maybe the week before that, when he was asked about his situation and why he left, he said it was dysfunctional, and he didn't mean just players, he meant all the way across the board. So, you know, and we even saw that from Kevin Durant in his initial trade request, where he felt like there was some dysfunction, and then somehow he retracted.
Right.
But at number 7, Kevin Durant will demand a trade again. I could possibly see that. Like I said,
he might stay.
I don't believe that Kyrie Irving will be there next year. I'm very, very uncertain about the situation with Ben Simmons, because in this major run that they've been on, you haven't heard much about him in the mix at all. Now, somebody can chime in and correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, but you haven't heard much of his name called in this run. It's all been Kyrie and KD.
Trying to play basketball.
You know, so again, with Kevin Durant, I believe that could happen.
Pretty much.
And it may not be until like maybe the summer or something like that, but it's season, still the year. So I believe that could
one of them will be gone. Yeah, I think so too.
And both of them might end up being gone. Because like I said, I don't believe that the Nets are going to bring Kyrie Irving back.
Me either.
The Giants will pursue a high-profile free agent quarterback. Well, that's a thought, but
Danny Dimes ain't going to be there no more.
But who? Who's the high-profile quarterback that they can go after?
No, I heard they real quick. Can I chime in? They said him and Barkley gonna get re-signed.
But who is the high-profile quarterback that they're referring to?
That? I didn't hear that.
These are just bold predictions.
I'm sorry.
So who is the high-profile quarterback? I mean, somebody give me some names. I mean, high-profile quarterbacks. If they high-profile quarterbacks, then that means they're doing something where they are.
Right.
And why would they go and start over at the Giants? It doesn't make sense.
Because they made the playoffs this year?
The NBA will announce an expansion. I think that's going to happen. There's been several years of talk about bringing another franchise back to Seattle.
Yeah.
I also saw some stuff where I think it's like Mexico or somewhere.
Yeah,
there could be some teams. So I think that could finally happen, where one of those teams or so could arguably jump back in.
How about the Vegas? Somebody said about Vegas.
They said that
Vegas something.
You know, always some money involved.
What team was Vegas something?
They would probably end up bringing a new team in, if you will.
Forgot what sport.
So that's number 9. Yeah. So I think it's going to happen. Let's see. Rick Davila, he says maybe Lamar, big market. I don't think they'll get Lamar Jackson.
No.
Anywhere.
Anyway.
Crazy anyway they resign. Yeah, they probably will resign Danny Dimes anyway. But again, I don't think they're going to get Lamar Jackson. I don't think that's going to happen. For the Giants, I don't think that's going to happen.
Nickname, he didn't do nothing.
But again, like I said, with the NBA thing at number 9, I think there will be some expansion. It may not be immediate.
Right.
I don't think it may not. It may be in 2023.
Right.
It's the setup for the 2023-2024 season.
Right.
Where that team, or the 2024-2025 season,
yeah.
where that team may eventually ultimately come in,
picked in, for the
come
NFL.
into play.
Yeah.
Number 10, the Bruins win the Stanley Cup.
They only got like 10 of them, don't they? They might possible. They got a good
the
team.
Bruins, in my opinion, are like
like
the hockey team, like I like to say about the Spurs.
Yeah.
They, no matter what they do during the regular season, sometimes going towards that playoff run, they're always talked about in the mix some way, somehow. Even if they get talked about and ultimately get bumped out, at some point they make it a point to get talked about in that discussion. So it's possible that the Bruins could win the Stanley Cup.
For this coming year? I don't know.
Number 11. Justin Jefferson will reset the non-quarterback market.
Reset.
Continuing with our bold predictions for 2023. This is part 2.
Right.
Continuing, and we are up to number 11 on this list. Number 11 again. Justin Jefferson will reset the non-quarterback market. Not sure about that one. Let's see. Rick says, NBA, Vegas is calling for expansion, but NBA is all about the brand and the dollars. I don't know how marketable an NBA team could be in Vegas. It's a really good question.
In a lot of trouble, I know that.
It's a really good question to think about that. I mean, they have a pro team, they have an NFL team there. And for the most part, it's going pretty smoothly. Aside from the fact that the team's not very good, but right now, but last year and this year, as far as marketable,
money
been pretty good. The NBA has some ties there. They're always out there for the summer league in Vegas. So it could be, it could be a benefit for them where those people can get a double dip. They can get the summer league in Vegas, and then they get their own team throughout the year.
Right.
Wow. This one is one that I don't think is going to happen. The Luka Doncic trade watch will become a thing.
No, he ain't going nowhere. That'd be a fool to let him go. Why is that a rule?
With everything that he's done so far in Dallas,
that's stupid. That's like letting go of dirt.
I don't. Well, let me backtrack for a second. It says the Luka Doncic trade watch will become a thing. So it's a lot of ways you can look at that. You can look at that like, really, are they really going to try and trade him? Or you can look at it as conversations will be had.
For what?
To see where they are.
So the MVP of the league.
There's the small part of me, Ryan Dendy, thanks for tuning in. There's a small part of me that could go along with this exactly like what it literally says. There's a small part of me that says that this could possibly happen. And for me, it is not necessarily saying that a trade will come about.
Right.
Talks. But I do feel like the way that he's playing,
they get a lot of
and then depending on what happens as far as the team and their success, there could be some phone calls had. Like people could easily call and say, "Yo, Mark, listen. You know what I mean? What's up?
Man.
Like, what you gonna do? What you gonna do with him? He's gonna ask for this. Salary caps and whatever. Maybe we can work something out. So for me, a small part of me feels like this could be a possibility. And like I said, the literal aspect of it, and it says the Luka Doncic trade watch will become a thing. And again, that's not saying that his Luka Doncic trade will become a thing. It's the trade watch. So that means there'll probably be rumors, and like I said, rumors and some dialogue. People will probably call and question. It's not necessarily saying that something will get done. But that's something that I think could possibly take place. Rick says, I think we'll see talks of who you compare with him, right? But Mark ain't letting this cash cow go. Absolutely. I don't think that's going to happen really either, Rick. But like I said, that small part of me feels like some conversations will be had, and his name could arguably be asked about.
Right.
Number 13, the Pistons will win the top pick.
Probably so. They're always in the top 5.
Yeah, because I think the Magic are slightly better than them. He said, Rick says, plus Luka. Yes, Luka can flat out ball, absolutely. The Pistons will win the top pick.
The way it is right now, you don't know.
I mean, it could be possible because they lost Cade Cunningham for the tires for the rest of the season. So, not much there. You know, Jaden Ivey improving, Killian Hayes improving. It's just not much there for them to be very competitive right now. So yeah, I could see that happening. Them winning the top pick again.
Right.
Victor Wembanyama will be June's number 1 pick.
Oh, the guy, that tall dude. Yeah.
I think that could happen. There's a lot of talk
like him?
about him now.
He gained some weight.
As far as him being the number 1 pick, even with that, I don't know, because of his size. Because of his size, and again, I would, in my opinion, I would kind of have him in a tweener because I can't really say right now definitely he's a top this 3. Or he's a this.
He's a top 3 pick.
I'm not even talking about the pick, I'm just talking about position where I can't really say that he's a this or he's a that.
Oh, 4 or 5.
So it's like an in between somewhere there.
Yeah.
The weight issue, even if he was the number 1 overall pick,
bulk up, man.
I don't think that he'll have a consistent immediate impact.
Okay.
He may have some flashes where,
like JoJo?
oh yeah, this is, no, not like JoJo. He may have some flashes like open court different situations in games where you'll be like, oh yeah, once he get the hang of this and the speed of this, he's gonna be something to deal with.
Yeah.
Just coming in, like I said, because of his size, his age, he's gonna have some signs. He's gonna show you some stuff, but I don't think he's gonna have that immediate, consistent impact. Yeah, I don't think that. But again, I could see him being the number 1 pick.
Yeah.
South Carolina will repeat as national champions.
True.
I can definitely see that.
I can see a dynasty. I'm seeing a dynasty.
You know, they lost a couple players, but
I mean, she can
they
recruit.
still have.
She can recruit.
They still have a lot of their core.
The number 1 recruiting class.
Still got a lot of their core still there.
Yeah. They said she's the number 1 recruiting.
Same players, a lot of the similar players. A lot of the younger players that were there that are now have now learned the system that can step in. So that train is going to stay in motion.
Plus they can recruit too.
Yeah, I can see that happening. You know, she's got, and these are some of the things that Dawn has at her disposal. The reigning National Player of the Year, Aaliyah Boston. She's got Zaya Cook, Bria Beal, Letitia Amir, and some new faces.
Them babies is
Ashley Watkins, Kiera Fletcher.
Yeah,
they're primed to repeat.
Right. They gonna I got it.
Houston will cut down the nets. And this is the University of Houston.
What, the regular Houston?
Under University of Houston.
No.
See, it's all coming together for Houston in 2023.
No.
Houston has been an excellent defense under Kelvin Sampson, and now has top intel to go with that elite scheme.
Final 4.
The point guard.
I
don't know.
Final 4.
I don't think.
Final 8, probably.
They'll win it all.
Not this year.
Final 4 is in Houston, yes, but I don't think they'll.
They'll probably go to Final 4.
I don't think they'll win it all. No, I don't think they'll be cutting down no nets.
Kentucky. I think Kentucky or what's it called?
Aaron Judge will narrowly miss hitting 50 home runs. I think that's a possibility.
Yeah.
Because of what he did this past season, I think there will come moments in games that will definitely present themselves, and then there will also just become moments where pitchers and teams will take a different approach in how they pitch to him.
Right.
So some of those opportunities could become limited.
Right.
Number 18, the Clippers will win the Western Conference.
No,
they're not going to win the Western Conference. That's not.
Kawhi Leonard ain't going to stay healthy.
No, actually, the Grizzlies will win the Western Conference. I don't think the Grizzlies will win it either.
I said Pelicans before they win.
Rory McIlroy will win the Masters. That is a strong possibility.
No, John
Now they
Madden.
go again. They're playing devil's advocate. No, not actually actually the Nuggets, not the Clippers or Grizzlies. You can't count out the Pelicans because they're playing very well right now.
Yeah.
Tiny will win the American League MVP. That is a very good possibility. Trey Turner will win the National League MVP.
Boxing
could possibly be true. Kyrie Irving will finally become a Laker. Very possible because I think he'll be a free agent.
Yes.
But I don't know how that's going to play out.
Money cap. Possible. They do anything helping LeBron.
Rafael Nadal and Venus Williams will retire. I can see that happening.
Yup.
An NBA team will trade into losing. Definitely that they will trade and move some assets to tank. Karl Anthony Towns will be traded. Not too sure about that one.
Nah, he's staying.
I think he'll stay.
I know for a fact it
The
is. The
Kings will make the NBA playoffs, maybe, because they're now with that play-in tournament. They might sneak in.
Yeah, maybe.
And the number 36, and I think this is definitely going to happen at some point, and I think it will. The Lakers will make a trade. It's just a matter of who they will trade. But I think they will make a trade at some point. Somehow, it's got to come in the trade line, but I think they will make a trade.
Right.
So, folks, that's that. Again, all this video is up. If you got anything that you want to add, feel free to chime in after we after we go off air and chime in. You can do that on your own.
Great show today.
So, moving along, we got some schedules for you. First, we told you about the national title game. The national title game for the college football playoff will be January the 9th. Facing off in that game will be number 3, TCU versus number 1, Georgia.
Good game.
Tonight, in the NBA, you have. Wait, before I do that, we gotta do picks. Week 18, final week of the regular season coming up. Sunday, all Sunday. Tampa Bay at Atlanta. I'm going with the old man and the Bucks in that game there. Let's see.
Yeah, I go with
New England and Buffalo. I like Buffalo. Minnesota, Chicago. I don't know. I think Minnesota will bounce back. Rick says, not an Eagles fan, but share some light on that pick. That what?
Who we got? Minnesota.
Wait. The pick that the Saints owe them, and what you think they will do with it. Very interesting. Okay, Rick. We're gonna pause on these picks. We stopped at Cincinnati, Baltimore for a second just to get to your question, Rick, on what you want. Yeah, the Saints owe us that pick. At this point, what's going on right now? There's a possibility that there could be a quarterback in sight there, depending on where that pick is.
Yeah, I heard about that.
There could also be a running back in sight.
Right.
So there's a couple of ways that they can go with that. Possibly a corner, because you have to either bring James Bradbury back or look for another corner.
Yeah, a couple corners coming. That's good.
So, you know, there's a couple of ways that they can go with that, Rick. So I'm just going to say possibilities, QB, corner. You can always go linebackers, but I'm going to say QB, corner, running back is possible how they can attack that pick there. Getting back into our picks, Baltimore is Cincinnati. I like Cincy.
Bengals, yeah.
Chargers at the Broncos. I'm going with the Chargers.
Yeah.
Detroit at Green Bay. Because this game could mean so much, I'm going with Detroit on the road.
Yeah.
Houston at Indianapolis. I'm going to go with Houston because we don't know the quarterback situation in Indy. Chiefs and the Raiders, definitely going with the Chiefs there. The Jets and the Dolphins.
I got the Jets.
I like the Jets there too.
Carolina,
New Orleans.
The Saints.
I'm going with the Saints at home. Eagles and Giants. I'm going with the Eagles at home.
I don't know, D.
I'm going with the Eagles at home.
I don't know.
Jalen Hurts should probably be playing. I'm going with the Eagles at home. Cleveland at Pittsburgh. I'm going with Cleveland on the road.
Frisco, I got my team.
Arizona at San Francisco.
The Niners.
I'll go with San Francisco. They don't have a quarterback there. the Rams and the Seahawks. I'm going with the Seahawks.
Yeah. Well, this game right here is gonna be crazy. Dallas gotta win this game, but I don't trust them. Redskins, they're gonna play spoiler, right? They're gonna play spoiler.
I'm gonna play spoiler. I'm gonna go with the Skins at home over that, and then Jacksonville over Tennessee.
I got Jacksonville
in that final game.
I got Jacksonville.
Moving along to tonight. Again tonight,
Buffalo and Cincinnati.
it is Buffalo and Cincinnati closing out Week 17 in that game. Moving on to where we are Monday, NBA Monday. Suns, Knicks, Bulls, Cavs, Pacers, Raptors, Pelicans, Sixers, Lakers, Hornets, Spurs, Nets, Mavs, Rockets, Nuggets, T-Wolves, Hawks, Warriors, Pistons, Blazers, and Heat, Clippers. Also NHL games tonight. Panthers and the Bruins, the Golden Knights and the Avalanche, the Flyers and the Ducks. Those are your schedules for tonight. Again, folks, Sixers tonight, so be sure you are tuned in. As you know, like I said, be tuned in all week. I will let you know about the situation. This is our scheduled Thursday for the Drake Tavern. But you'll get all of the information on social media once you follow, as I do. Also, folks, you get all these videos on Facebook, and then I share them on YouTube. What I need everyone to do that's tuned in, if you have not already done it, and then tell a friend to tell a friend. Get over to YouTube, search SportsRap TV. Got to get that channel up so I can get some live stuff going on YouTube as well. This is where I'm saying. So I'm going to be announcing this every day and sometimes 2 or 3 times a week during social media when I do my posts. Because like I said, I'm bringing this energy and I'm going to let this business work for me. So that's part of it. Okay, you see I've changed it to the LLC. So I'm going to make it work for them. Do everything in my power to make it work for me. So again, get over to YouTube, SportsRap TV. Subscribe to the channel. Scroll through, check out the videos, hit the thumbs up on the ones you like, and then hit that bell so you'll be alerted when new content is up. And then tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend to do the same thing. Also, folks, it is Monday, January the 2nd. We are into a new year. I hope everyone had a Merry Christmas, a Merry holiday, and a Happy New Year. I hope it was safe and everything for you. I hope that this new year is very prosperous and blessed for you and brings you, let's just say, let's make it what you will. It's only going to be what you make.
No resolution.
You know, be great on purpose, as we always say. It is a nice day out, a little cloudy, a little dreary, but it is warm,
55.
Close to 55 or 60 degrees. So get out and enjoy it because we are only in January. So, you know, we still got that monster that comes in February, March, and very going into April. So take advantage of what we can. Like we said, be great on purpose today. You can catch me. Enjoy your day off, too, for those of you that are off. You can get me, you know where, right here on Facebook. SportsRap Podcast LLC is the group page. Right here on Heat 100 Radio, heat100radio.com. Also, at SportsRap_D on Instagram and Twitter. The web page, sportsrapradio.com. And then YouTube, SportsRap TV. Also, you can get this audio on Spreaker, iHeart, Google, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and most of your podcast outlets. Just search SportsRap Podcast or SportsRap Podcast LLC. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We will see you possibly Thursday. So stay tuned for the announcements and everything and all that jazz. If not, we'll see you right back here, live in studio, Heat 100 Radio. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in and enjoy your day.